sentenced. As for those charges against him, CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson.
Now what we have is allegedly an attempt to try and delete evidence of them concealing that information, a cover-up on top of a cover-up.
Mr. Trump is scheduled to appear at a gathering of Republican presidential candidates in Des Moines tonight. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell is staying put despite recent health issues. A spokesperson says he will remain in his leadership post through the 2024 elections. 2 days ago, he froze up for about 21 seconds, speaking to reporters. Yesterday, he was back at work urging lawmakers to pass a defense policy bill.
A good way to wrap up this session. This is really important for our country.
The legislation passed 86-11, putting the bill on a collision course with the Republican-controlled House, which added provisions restricting abortion access. Another day, another hopeful piece of economic news. The Fed's preferred gauge shows inflation cooled in June to its lowest annual rate in more than 2 years. A lead economist at Oxford Economics says it's proof the main growth engine is still humming. The relentless heat wave that's blanketed the Southwest for weeks has spread east. Cities like New York and Philly face temperatures and humidity that'll make it feel like it's in the triple digits today. CBS's Jim Krasula says they're sweating it out in the steamy Midwest, too.
Grin and bear it. That's about all people who work outside can do. Jacob Schmitz and Jessica Torrenson work for a tree care company in White Bear Lake, Minnesota.
Stick to the shade as much as we can.
We did a little bit of an early start today. It helps a little, but eventually it's going to be that noon sun and you can't really escape it.
A medical breakthrough using guided artificial intelligence. Keith Thomas, a man paralyzed in a diving accident 4 years ago, was able to control his hand and arm and feel the sensation after he had a computer chip implanted in his brain. Chad Boughton directs the Neural Bypass Lab.
There's a saying that neurons that fire together wire together. We think that's part of what's happening.
If you drive a Ford, heads up. WWJ's Jeff Gilbert.
870,000 Ford F-150s being recalled after nearly 300 complaints of electric parking brakes activating on their own. That's happened at least 19 times while the vehicle was being driven.
Dow up 143. This is CBS News.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed, the end-to-end hiring solution. Attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
For WAUK, The Shaw, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. The woman accused of embezzling nearly $100,000 from area veterans organizations is pleading not guilty. Joni Nogue founded a charity called We Run, They Fly to support the Stars and Stripes honor flights. But Milwaukee County prosecutors say Nogue pocketed around $100,000 out of about $130,000 raised. Nogue is due back in court on August 28th. The Family Foundation buying the former Cardinal Stritch University campus is the same organization that founded St. Augustine Academy in Milwaukee. The Ramirez Family Foundation is buying 12 buildings on the Glendale and Fox Point campus. Gus Ramirez says the foundation has been looking to open a Christian school for underserved students on Milwaukee's north side for 10 years. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Hey, Racine and Kenosha. Civic Media and WRJN have landed your Green Bay Packers. Not only will you be able to hear your team run over the NFL this year, but now is your time to make your dream come true and be an official partner with the Green Bay Packers. One phone call is all it'll take to set up an appointment for Tuesday, August 1st and Wednesday, August 2nd. WAUK and WRJN will be around to talk to you and your company about how you can have your brand associated with not only the Packers, but the Badgers and local high school sports. And we'll also buy you lunch. What are you waiting for? Call Civic Media now at 608-819-8255 to secure an appointment for next week. Only a handful of Packers sponsorships left, so call us now. 608-819-8255. You don't want to miss out on a partnership that will be more profitable than your fantasy football team. 608-819-8255. This deal is a guaranteed touchdown.
This Sunday is the Black-owned summer marketplace downtown in Deer District from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Enjoy food trucks, vendors, and a live DJ, all while supporting local Black-owned businesses. Learn more at mkeblack.org and download our app today.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Albert.
Unrelentlessly positive.
Innovative.
Innovative?
Innovative. Whatever.
It indicates. Indicative? Hey, can we focus?
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin!
In your current job or former job, if you're retired, were you ever allowed to just yell at people? 844-967-89. Was it appropriate or accepted or tolerated? Or was there just no ramifications if you ever just like cursed people out? 844-96-party. Because I've never been cursed out at work. And I also sometimes feel like I may be in the minority. Because when I think about, my husband who worked in an agency, we did not meet in LA, but when he first graduated college, he went out to LA.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah. He worked at Endeavor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is like was one of the top ages. Like I just love the story of like a Whitewater kid in LA, like peeing next to Bruce Willis and calling home and being like, guess what happened? But, and so he worked in an industry where people got screamed at. Girls, like the mailroom girls got barked at. Like, and it was, there's just terrible stories out of Hollywood. I know in finance and investment bros and stuff that the hazing that happens of you are new and the underling and it's a stressful, high stakes situation and you just get screamed at. And in Congress, in politics, I think that flies too. And the most recent story, which some people are very upset about it, and it's the story from last night, and certainly it makes this guy seem like, can we say? Yeah, we play the song. We play the song. So he seems like this makes him look like a huge douche. But instead of clutching my pearls, I'm wondering, when is it like in what industries is it okay and there's no ramifications for yelling at interns and colleagues and entry-level people? And when you were working, or if you are still working, is that tolerated? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-party. And of course, we're talking about Derek Van Orden, who represents the 3rd Congressional District of Wisconsin. And news breaking last night that he apparently actually he's admitted that he did.
Oh yeah, he has no problems with it
problem
at all.
with it. Yelled at some Senate pages,
16 and 17-year-olds.
And was potentially drunk while doing it. And that's the newest thing in the last 24 hours that some people are defending. What I love is that like Dan O'Donnell,
I know, I saw that too.
State Senator Patrick Testin is trying to defend the drinking aspect of it because this is Wisconsin. I was like, I don't think that's what people are upset about.
No, that's not what people are upset about.
But Jane, have you ever worked in a scenario where it was just like there was no ramifications if someone just like cursed you out?
Oh, yes.
In radio?
Yeah. He threw a reel-to-reel at me once.
What is a reel-to-reel?
Big reel-to-reels that we used to run sound on tape reel-to-reels, big ones. Yeah, he threw that. He threw
Did you
one.
dodge it?
Yeah, I dodged it.
You can dodge a ball. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
I guess. And I remember one instance in particular where he followed our producer through the entire building, screaming the F word at him and telling what an effing idiot he was.
And who was he? He was the boss.
No.
He was another
on-air talent.
And he was just allowed to do that because that's how talent was treated.
Well, that's how he was treated. Trust me, if I had done that, it would have been handled. It would have been handled.
You would have been handled.
Oh, for sure. But no, he was allowed to do that.
Interesting. That's the only scenario?
Well, I mean, there were many more instances from this same person.
Okay. But like in no other like working environment where that was.
But I've always worked in radio.
Yeah.
So I don't have much else to compare it to.
Interesting. Well, we got one comment from Tony Zimmerman on the Facebook live stream. You are welcome to watch us on the Facebook live stream along with listen to us, which you can see on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter at As Goes Wisconsin. Tony says, in my factory jobs, it was okay. It wasn't encouraged, but people got it. In the office, no way. And so the question is, in your job or in former jobs, have you ever worked in a place where it was just okay to curse out, scream at, belittle, kind of harass, even if it was the boss or specifically
a colleague,
a high earner,
yep,
or someone who was very valuable to the company,
yep,
that was just their behavior was just tolerated. And we're talking about it because freshman Republican U.S. Representative Derek Van Orden yelled and cursed at a group of high school-aged Senate pages while giving a late-night tour of the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday, which, both Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, fresh off his
freeze,
his glitch, his Matrix glitch, both condemned this. And I'm not defending this, but it's also, I think, in history with, is it because it wasn't his interns? Like, if it was his interns, is he allowed to yell at them?
That's an interesting point.
Because every once in a while, I feel like we get stories, and it's usually about women because it's like women candidates, but like supposedly Katie Porter, not the best boss.
Who comes off as very sweet.
Does she? I don't think she comes off as sweet. I think she comes off as someone we want to root for whenever she is tearing apart someone in a congressional hearing because she's very good at it.
Yeah.
But in turn, because she's very good at it, I never mistook her for being a sweet person. I think it takes a certain amount of degaff to do what she does.
True.
That I wouldn't be surprised if it carries over. Like, being her kids, like, I don't think her kids get away from with much.
No, I would agree with you.
But when Amy Klobuchar was running for president, that came out.
That's
as far
right.
as like her throwing stuff at her people who worked for her. I found some story actually, and this was a where was it? The worst boss. Now I can't find it. But it was an Indiana rep that I actually hadn't heard of before, but supposedly just like runs through staffers.
Oh, really?
Because she is such a nightmare. And we can talk about whether or not there's like sexism wrapped into that we hear the stories of like women bad bosses versus male bad bosses. But like, not granted these were candidates, but think about how many, I don't know. Like, it's interesting to me to think that this is news today. Nothing will happen. But I also don't think that this is when you get into like high stakes industries, that there's more industries than not that it's still just okay to yell at people like that.
But I think, he's an elected official. And what happened to the whole character matters and character counts and morality and ethics? And, it's just, I don't see how this is just, and again, they're teenagers.
Oh, I'm not defending
No,
him.
I know you're not. But
I also don't think he's
alone.
Like, there was a story even with Biden that actually I was sitting on. This was from earlier this month, that in public, like how President Biden, whispers to make a point, but in private, like he yells, supposedly. And that like he has a pretty quick Irish temper, and that aides try to avoid meeting alone with him.
Oh, wow.
And some take a colleague almost a shield against a solo blast. So this was one. The president's abominations include, I don't think I can say that. GD.
Yeah, don't say that.
How the F don't you know this? Don't effing BS me and get the F out of here.
Okay.
And so I'm just saying, and I think it's all bad, but it also is certain industries where it's like you get thick skin because this is how a lot of people talk to their staff. And is this just worse because it wasn't his staff? And there's like a hierarchy of like who you can yell at,
who you can verbally abuse.
And it's like, you're a freshman, sir. You are a freshman member of the House. Do not be yelling. Like the Senate is very protective of their pages,
right?
And so, but it just, I don't know. It just makes me interested in people who worked and tolerated getting yelled at and knew that was just part of the job, and what industry it was in. 844-967-2789.
I mean, what would happen in your workplace if someone would follow a colleague through the building swearing at them?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that would be acceptable in most places of employment.
I don't know.
Unless it's just so commonplace.
Like, is law like this?
Texter checking in from the 715. Representative Van Orden must always act in a professional manner, especially in the Capitol, because the Capitol is a place of business. Even before he was elected, he never represented Wisconsin values. Some texter from Stevens Point and the 3rd District.
Well, and that's also what's coming out. So it's like, all right, so if we're talking specifically about this case and less about the question that I'm asking as far as like, would this fly in your place of work? It's a little hypocritical because on the one hand, it's like you had no problem with what other insurrectionists were doing to the Capitol. And because basically his defense is how upset he was that they would be lying down. It was how disrespectful it was to be lying down in the Capitol, which, housed soldiers. And I think he actually made the claim that there were soldiers buried there, which there
is
aren't.
No, that's not true.
But simultaneously, then he was also, part of the reason why some people are defending him is because he was drinking with constituents in his office. So it's like, is laying down in the rotunda more disrespectful than like getting drunk in your office in the Capitol?
Is laying down in the rotunda worse than smearing feces on the walls? Which is what happened on January 6th.
Who has the time to just sit down and poop and then, like that's like, don't you get
a lot about timing?
Don't you get like a little performance anxiety? Like, I don't know. All right, we're going to come back in a minute, but we'd love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. What would happen in your place of work if someone just screamed at you and cursed you out or someone out? Is it tolerated? Would you get fired? I don't know. 844-967-2789. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother and you chuck it on your father, you chuck it on your brother and you chuck it on your sister, you chuck it on that one and you chuck it on.
Hey, Racine and Kenosha. Civic Media and WRJN have landed your Green Bay Packers. Not only will you be able to hear your team run over the NFL this year, but now is your time to make your dream come true and be an official partner with the Green Bay Packers. One phone call is all it'll take to set up an appointment for Tuesday, August 1st and Wednesday, August 2nd. WAUK and WRJN will be around to talk to you and your company about how you can have your brand associated with not only the Packers, but the Badgers and local high school sports. And we'll also buy you lunch. What are you waiting for? Call Civic Media now at 608-819-8255 to secure an appointment for next week. Only a handful of Packers sponsorships left, so call us now. 608-819-8255. You don't want to miss out on a partnership that will be more profitable than your fantasy football team. 608-819-8255. This deal is a guaranteed touchdown.
Hey,
Hey, this is Lindsay Kindert at 540 WAUK The Shaw. At Civic Media, we love our local communities and want to share your stories. Submit your local event and we'll let our listeners know. Email me, Lindsay Kindert, at info@civicmedia.us. That's info@civicmedia.us.
Hi, I'm Mandy Roberts, financial advisor with Thrivent. I'm here to help you assess your finances and find solutions to meet your needs. Let's ensure you have a strategy for success. To get started, call 715-470-1303. That's 715-470-1303.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Partly cloudy skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered storms. High temperatures reach up to 90. Southeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Scattered thunderstorms likely. Lows level off around 65. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 80. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently,
You're a douche, you're a douche, you're a big fizzy douche. Everything you said was a lie. You're a douche, you're a douche, you're a big fizzy douche.
But you're still a really, really handsome guy.
Thank you.
You're a douche, you're a douche, you're a big fizzy douche.
And as I said in the Lord.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair, and we are talking about jobs where you get yelled at.
Bad behavior is acceptable.
You get cursed out. And if Congress is just one of those jobs, not excusing Derek Van Orden's, whatever douchey, he yelled at some kids for lying down on the rotunda. But it just made me think about other stories that have ever come out of Congress of how terrible elected officials sometimes are to their staff, but then also thinking about stories I've heard about finance and Hollywood and in some industries where it's just okay to scream and curse at your colleagues or your underlings. I've never worked in a situation like that. I'm trying to think of how I would deal with it. I don't think I would deal well with it.
I don't think you would either.
Because we've had one situation where you've seen me where I definitely didn't get yelled at, but I did not like the tone that was taken. And I went on a self-righteous tirade for a couple days.
But I also think, well, maybe not, but it is a different time now. And I would think more people would feel in a stronger position to step up and say, you can't do that to me.
Well, not teenagers. Like, obviously, that's a terrifying thing to be a teenager,
sure.
But yeah, and it's one thing to stand up for yourself. It's another thing to have, just a different time in general where there's more of a stink you can make, even if your internal processes don't lend themselves to it. You can, I don't know, you can always write a tweet, like you can go to Twitter, right? And sometimes that will just blow up. But asking you if you have ever worked or, what would happen in your job if someone acted like this. 844-967-2789. We got a text from Toma, Wisconsin. 2 jobs that it's more common in. I don't know if it's acceptable I don't know if acceptable is how I would describe it, but line cook. And I have watched The Bear. So yes, I would say I was never back of the house. I have worked in restaurants and we didn't yell at each other. But I don't think the back of the house did either. But certainly I know, again, high stakes, high stress situation. And then he also said any military job that's not in an office, which I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And then from WAUK, listening to me, the ugliness is more that he verbally abused a bunch of teenagers in public, angry drunk uncle style, while they weren't even on the clock, from what I understand. Yeah, I'm not defending what he did. Like, I think this makes him look terrible. I don't think there's going to be really much ramifications for him besides if he gets, if voters hold this against him next year. But, I think it makes him look bad.
But
again, like, is that just kind of like, well, and now we move on?
Yeah. And I think for some, that makes him a tough guy for swearing at a bunch of teenagers. You tell him, arr.
But it also makes me think about the fact of his when he was when he had that
with the librarian.
outlash. That's not the word that I want. What word am I trying to like? Not whiplash. I'm trying to think.
Tongue lashing.
Sure. We'll go with tongue lashing. I still don't think that's what the word I'm trying to grab for. But when it was some teenager at a library that he was so angry over like a LGBTQ like book display. And so clearly the guy's got an anger issue and a temper.
And he doesn't like teenagers, apparently. 844-967-2789, 844-96-party. Tom from LA. Good morning, Tom. What do you think?
Good morning. Happy Friday. Well, first off, we the people ultimately are the government. I believe that, but we need to get money out of politics so we can actually restore government back to we the people. Second, when they have someone that was or is the leader of their party that can make fun of, medically disabled people and what have you, I guess anything goes. So that's out of the barn. Also, do you know how if a woman had done this?
Oh yeah,
that would have ruined her career in a second.
Well, and that's
this
why
is one of the reasons why I have such an issue voting for females as presidents or vice presidents, because I think the Republicans, first off, are so good at messaging. They are. We just need to accept that. I mean, by the time the election comes up, it'll be Joe Biden belongs in jail somehow.
Totally. Well, and I said, Tom,
and they're so good at projection.
Well, and that's what I was almost ashamed of myself. Yeah, and I was almost ashamed of myself that the only example, like the first examples I thought of, were all women, right? Of like them being bad bosses, because I feel like it just doesn't end up. Not that he was the boss in this situation, but there's a power disparity there, and
but the same thing, like Katie Porter is actually very stern, I would say, about Earth. But the thing is, it would be very, very easy to make her into this evil, Methuselah type of, devil woman from, one of the Little Mermaid shows or something. You know what I mean? It's
Tom, I gotta let you go because we got another caller that we're gonna try to squeeze in before the end of the break. But thank you for the call as always. Do we have time further?
Yes, we do. This is Robert from Richland Center. Real quick, Robert, because we're kind of up against the clock.
Okay, just on the Derek Van Orden situation, I think that there was the incident itself, but almost worse in my mind is the fact that he makes up this crazy stuff about they were desecrating soldiers' graves and making that up. So he wasn't apologetic. He was on the assault afterwards, which I think is actually almost worse.
I agree. I think the fact that there was no apology or being like, all right, I overstepped, or just like, well, I will never apologize for respecting my country. Blah. But thanks for the call, Robert. All right, well, we got to go to a break. And when we come back, Maggie Daun is here for our Civic Media Crossover Friday. We're very excited to have her here. I think she's gonna inform us on Trump stuff because she's been taking it to him in her show at 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, the Maggie Daun Show. So stay tuned. She will be here right after the break. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
You're a douche, you're a douche, you're a big fizzy douche.
Hold it, everybody. That's my phone. Hello?
You're a douche. Give me a D-O-U-C-H-E douche.
Drum roll!
You're a douche, you're a douche, just a big fizzy douche.
I'm not.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Cruz on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
CBS News Brief. Former President Trump tells John Frederick's radio show he will not stop his presidential campaign, even if he's convicted and sentenced in the classified documents case. Legal contributor Jessica Levinson on the new charges against him.
You have other people here explicitly telling colleagues, we understood what the former president said. Of course, they said the boss, but it is to delete information that is under subpoena.
Specifically, video from Mar-a-Lago. It's shaping up to be another scorcher across the country. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams at the Weather Channel.
We will have to deal with one more day of those heat indices above 100 from the Midwest on into the Northeast.
Scientists at a neural bypass lab say a man paralyzed in a diving accident controlled his hand and arm and felt sensation while he was being guided by artificial intelligence.
We think it's the electrical stimulation activates those damaged circuits that are in the spinal cord.
CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
Your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected on the Civic Media Network, civicmedia.us.
For WAUK The Shaw, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Police in Oconomowoc are looking into a battery-operated camera found inside a porta
Whatever the weather, it will impact you and your plans.
Should I water the garden? Will our event be rained out? Count on your local Civic Media.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. And we are so excited. This is like 2 months in the making.
I know.
That we've been wanting to get you on the show.
long.
But Maggie Daun of the Maggie Daun Show is here in person for our Civic Media Crossover Fridays. How you doing?
I'm really good. Sales tax passed yesterday.
I know. Well, that's what was so funny. So I the show ended and it had not passed yet. So I was like, all right, I'm going to sit here and watch the live stream and like each county board member their supervisor was getting up and giving their speech and their very main character energy.
Oh
that
yes,
a lot of them
they
were
all have a role.
demonstrating.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like doing something else, and I hear your voice. I was like, "Oh, there's
Oh,
Maggie."
there she. That's right. She has a normal job. Yep. Took today off. Very happy that today is a day off after a celebration. And
So you see this as a good thing. You're happy.
There really is not any reasonable argument against a half a penny on a dollar sales tax in Milwaukee County. The city's problem was more acute. Their sales tax is much larger, has a much bigger economic impact on struggling working families. But the county it's like, I'm sorry, do you want your parks to stay open in your district, supervisor? Then what are you even talking about? For a minute there, I actually thought we were going to have a 17-1 vote. One supervisor we always knew was going to be a no vote because that's kind of his jam, and I won't get into that because
I think I know which one you're talking.
I think so. I think I know too.
I bet you do, Jane. Y'all are pretty
There's
bright
two.
ladies.
It was the horseshoe. There was two that are on the opposite side of the spectrum that I figured were both going to be.
Yeah,
no's.
I actually thought the one who was maybe more of a question might come around to it, simply because your particular district may be more wealthy and less obtain, use, and access the county social services safety net and like
Yeah.
all these things that really, I often joke with people, we do airports to zoos, and if the only thing you know about Milwaukee County is the airport, a golf course, and the zoo, it means you're in the top 10%. So for that individual supervisor, it was like, yeah, your folks may not use as much of it, but like, so your slice of our pie may be smaller in that way, but our pie is about to get bigger. So your residents and your constituents will get more. So I thought that vote might come around. And then the acting chairwoman during the vote, who is a supervisor from a district that has a lot of poverty and a lot of struggling working families, I was really shocked. And I think that vote was simply because the tax had passed. And the calculus for that elected official was, I can vote no and it doesn't matter. And one of the things I hammer on my show all the time is, yes, politics is theater, but when you are engaging in performative politics, where you're doing it to either save yourself or promote yourself, and it has no tether to what's actually good, like that needs to be highly criticized. And I think that individual regrets that vote.
Do you?
Yes.
Huh.
Galactic error.
Because this is the same person who also then almost immediately asked for a reconsideration, right? And then that was denied.
And I think that what you were seeing there was the, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. How do I undo this? And you don't revote on things like that.
Yeah.
Like you don't bring those motions back. Like you need to get that right. You need to get it right when you're voting. And I think I was sitting 3 feet from the person when they made that vote, and they sort of went, no. And I literally, my head went down. I was like, cringe. Oh my gosh, no. Because you're not going to be able to, there's no do-over on that. Some votes matter. Some votes are the only vote that matters. This was kind of one of those.
Eek. Well, voting has
Consequences. There are
consequences.
consequences.
Even when you're already elected and the vote is already settled.
Sure does. People are going to remember that.
Can come back to bite you in the butt.
So today is a vacation day for
Good
me.
for you.
No one start emailing me at the county and being like, what are you doing on the air in the middle of the day? It's a vacation day. So it was a perfect day to come in, and I really appreciate you and Jane being super flexible. I thought, well, if the vote passes, I'll be in a buoyant mood to be on As Goes Wisconsin. So happy to be here.
So we're so happy to have you. And one of the things that we do is kind of just talk about stories from the week. And so I know we can either go one of two ways. We can talk about stories that you want to talk about.
Sure.
Otherwise, I know you talk a lot about Trump on your show because you come at it from a legal aspect. You are a lawyer. And so I always love listening to your show because I feel like it's less of just opining opinions.
Yeah.
It's actually based in some all right,
based in the law.
Let's look at the law.
Yeah.
And so is on your vacation day?
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about, Maggie Daun?
Well, I want to talk about jerky bosses, Derek Van Orden.
Okay.
So I was listening on the way in because that's what we do. We listen to each other's
Yep.
shows. I do like sort of random side tangent note. One of the things that I love about the station is that everybody's show has a very different sort of lilt, tone, personality, take, focus area. And it's interesting, especially when we each end up talking about like this, if there was a major thing in the news and everybody talks about it, there's very much those different perspectives on it. And I think that that's really interesting over the course of a news day. So I think everybody should just listen all day.
All day, every
All
day.
day,
Never
every
leave
day.
Civic Media.
Get the Civic Media app. Take us with you everywhere.
That's right. But when I read that story when it broke last night, I thought this is just despicable. First of all, I have been an intern on Capitol Hill. I worked for Congressman Tom Barrett the summer of 1996. This is when Monica Lewinsky was giving sexual favors in the White House. This is when W-2 welfare reform passed, fast-tracked through the House, led by Newt Gingrich that summer. The bill was literally like about 3 feet high when it got to the congressman's office. And I'll tell you this, I was basically just the intern that would like take people on Capitol tours and answer phones and stuff. And the Congressman, Tom Barrett, was doing not a whit. He was going to say nothing on welfare reform. And I sort of asked one of the other staffers, I was like, isn't Jerry Kletchka, aren't, Congressman Kletchka and Barrett, the two congressmen with the most people that receive these benefits in the state? And aren't they kind of using the state of Wisconsin as like a petri dish to basically target Black working poor families? Shouldn't we be saying something? And people were like, shut up. Yeah.
Wow.
I like to call it my...
You undergrad or in law school at
I
that
was
point?
in undergrad. I
Okay,
was...
so you're like
it was my
20,
freshman
20?
summer. I was 19 years
Oh my
old.
gosh, okay.
And I remember thinking Tom Barrett's worthless. Like having
Wow.
a very crystallized notion that if you can't find your way to grow an opinion on this thing when they're targeting your constituents very clearly, it was the sort of that time, right? Gingrich's Congress coming out of Reagan was really where all of the racial dog whistling and divisiveness, it had always been part of the GOP, right? But that's when it was being labeled, right? And all of these tropes that we see Donald Trump and people like Van Orton leaning back into today, like all of that was happening. And I was so angry. It was so hard for me to work in that office and watch nothing happen on that.
Did he ever earn back your...
No.
Okay.
No. My line on Tom Barrett is he's a very nice guy interpersonally, and bravo to that. He's never a guy who would do what Van Orton did.
Yeah.
But that to me is just like, oh, so you're not an ass.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There's not a check mark in your negative column. It's not a plus to have the absence of jerkitude. But my line on Tom Barrett when he got appointed to be an ambassador was, you've lost 2 elections to Walker. You've done nothing to heal the city. You've dodged those issues for years. Gee whiz, there's nothing like another mediocre, middle-aged white guy failing up yet again because he's charming.
To go be the ambassador of the richest per capita country.
Doesn't speak French, has no background in finance, and has barely held a regular job for any point in time in his entire life.
But do you know that in Luxembourg, one of their big celebrations every year includes hopping? So I found that to be very serendipitous.
That's clearly what made him qualified to be the ambassador of Luxembourg. My other line on him is he couldn't lead himself out of a cardboard box. Like there's no establishment of vision, no organizing principle. And how long were you mayor? I mean, come on, man. Anyways, so yeah, Van Orton,
so jerky bosses. He's not the boss in this situation, but I read it because and I said, I mean, I've been pretty honest. Like I've yet to feel like ever abused emotionally or verbally in a workplace. And I think I've been pretty lucky because when I hear her stories or your stories
with like
that you told me at the break, that like how ubiquitous, as much as we can say this is despicable, and it is, and like it makes him look terrible, I think, but also stories of other Congress members who have done this to their staff, stories. And then you were saying in law, because I asked that question, I was like, is this how lawyers work?
It is all over the place in the law. And the tangent about working for Tom was in Congress on in Capitol Hill, there's a pecking order. So you pointed this out, Kristen. You're like, you're a freshman member of the House. You don't go after Senate pages. They basically outrank freshman members of the House. Like if you work in the Senate, you are the blankety blank. That is the top of the top.
Like Mitch McConnell can yell at you.
Correct.
But Derek Van Orton cannot.
No, he can barely yell. He should barely be qualified to yell at himself in the mirror. I mean, so yes, the law is just rife with this. I have worked in what is referred to as like big law, white shoe law firms, and behaviors that I saw were literally almost pathologically to completely out of bounds. People screaming, yelling, binders and like papers being pushed off of conference tables. A stapler was once thrown. And I don't mean like sort of at someone. I mean, a partner picked it up and threw it like a baseball as hard as he could at a paralegal. GTFO, what the F are you doing? Whack. And she like barely missed it.
So legally,
drinking on the job
in that situation, couldn't he, if he had actually hit her?
Yeah, is she gonna sue a law firm?
She could sue him, right?
Is she gonna sue a law firm? Yeah. Why do you think it's only been within the last maybe 15 to 20 years, and there's only been a handful of these lawsuits where women or people of color have sued the major big law firms for discrimination or hostile workplaces or harassment. And the same is true in finance. You do not sue these employers because once you do, you will never work again. And that's the point that I think people don't well, why don't you just leave? Excuse me. These are like, there are not a ton of these jobs at the very, very, very top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And everyone knows everyone else. And when you leave these places, if you're not stepping up or getting paid more, there's a presumption and a cloud that either you're screwed up or something happened. And it doesn't matter what the truth is, you're damaged goods. And word gets around. So when people talk about these things and, oh, just leave, but you don't know what you're talking about. You just don't. That's the power asymmetry that makes the behavior so persistent and pernicious. It just doesn't go away because people you have the absence of real and meaningful choice. And I think in some artistic industries, including media, right, where talent or a particular person who's really great at what they do, a chef, an artist, you can get away with obnoxiousness and I mean, some of this behavior is so frequent, so daily, that it causes people real psychological damage. I had 3 secretaries that worked in the practice group that I was in, who at different times came into my office, basically closed the door and immediately started bawling. One of them, I had been gone from the firm for a decade. She wrote me a letter once. I'd been gone for a decade. Thank you for treating me with respect and kindness. I will never forget that. Your words to me many, many years ago eventually gave me the courage to leave this place.
Oh.
I'll never know how to thank you. And it was because I treated her like a human being. That's how bad it is. So Me Too is a thing, the sexual element, the gender element is a thing, but we're talking about workplace abuse leveled between men and women, but it's always about that power dynamic. Woo! Sorry, didn't mean to get so deep on Friday.
All right, we're gonna lighten it up and play a quiz when we come back.
Love it. I also have some fun news that we can talk about that's not so heavy.
All right, this is As Goes Wisconsin. We'll be right back.
The weather's fine, but there may be a meteor shower.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Metnair, and we have the one and only Maggie Daun in the studio. That flew by. She's actually going to stick around.
Oh, good.
So yeah, she's going to stay here through the
Fabulous.
top of the hour news. We're going to keep talking about some of the stories she pulled. So stick around after this segment. But this is a segment we do on Fridays with our Civic Media host guests to see, because we all talk about the news, but there's a lot of news out there.
Quite a volume.
It's always interesting to see what people have picked up on during the week. So it's there's 6 questions, multiple choice. We go back and forth, and then there's one at the end where whoever says the answer the fastest. Sometimes it's not a tiebreaker. Sometimes it is. We don't take this very seriously.
No,
There's no fabulous prizes involved, unfortunately.
other than bragging rights and blank talking rights.
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Totally.
I
There
love
you go.
that. But I do have to disclaim, my head has basically been completely up the sales tax behind for 2 months. Like, I consume what I need to consume to get through the day and do my show. So nobody hold this against me if I sound like a total idiot.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, good.
All right. So since you're the guest, you get to choose if you want to go first or second.
I'll go second.
All right.
Honors to Jane.
Jane.
All right, let's do this.
Israel. Oh, no. Shoot. I already screwed this one up.
Benjamin Netanyahu, Supreme Court.
This is a layup for you. Which country's parliament passed a law this week diminishing its Supreme Court's power?
Don't tell me it's Israel.
Oh, Jane's got one.
Well done.
Okay, so this is a Wisconsin question. After complaints and lawsuits and money wasted and trying to fire Megan Wolf, Republicans have jumped on the early voting train.
Yes.
What is the name of the RNC's new campaign to encourage early voting?
Ooh.
Maggie, you have a multiple choice. So 1, get counted. 2, own the libs. 3, bank your vote.
Bank your vote. It's bank your vote.
Or is it 4, mea culpa?
Oh, I wish it was I wish it was mea culpa. I also like own the libs more, but it's bank your vote.
It is bank your vote. All right, 1-1.
All right, well done.
Jane, which of these is not a headline about bills Wisconsin Republicans introduced this week?
Which one is not?
Which one is not?
No.
So 3 of these are real. We're back to 3 headlines in a line.
Okay.
Legislative Republicans introduce bill protecting right to garden. Lawmakers seek to introduce tax rebates for gun safe purchases. Survivors of sexual assault could go after rapists for child support payment under GOP proposal. Republican bill proposes eliminating sales tax on baby products like diapers, cribs, and strollers.
It is the rapist.
That one, the real one or the
That's
fake
the
one?
real one.
The 3 of them are real.
3 are.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we got gun safes.
Gun safes.
We've got you'll get child support if you get raped and we force you to have a baby.
Yeah. Only if they're convicted.
Right.
Okay.
And right to garden.
Right. Okay.
Right to garden is a thing.
And the baby products, finally taking the sales tax off of those.
That one.
That one's real.
That one's
It
real.
is?
That
I was
one's
going to
real.
say, no, it's got to be the baby one because that might actually help some people out.
I know. The guns. That's why I put 2 in there. The gun safe's not real. But the sales tax on baby products, sexual assault, and the right to garden. All bills introduced this week.
Yeah, the right to garden. I've been fighting for that.
I didn't know.
For
I didn't know
years.
anyone was coming after your right to garden.
I mean, can we organize a protest and we're like literally with pitchforks, except they're going to be used for gardening purposes?
All right, moving on. Back to international news. South Korean. I keep reading this wrong. This week, South Korean scientists announced what breakthrough of a lifetime that is skeptical to the scientific community. Is it A, room temperatured superconductors, B, the darkest shade of black ever, C, general artificial intelligence, D, self-replicating black holes?
Self-replicating black holes.
No, unfortunately, it is room temperature superconductors.
Oh, wow.
So this is funny. When I watch a ton of Jeopardy.
Okay.
Jeopardy's fun. I hate Mayim Bialik as a host, by the way. We could do a whole show just on why. And every time a category comes up that's about outer space and like chemistry, I'm like, oh, I got nothing for you.
I got
on that
nothing.
one.
I don't know any of this.
You give me some pop
Periodic
culture.
table?
Yeah. Nothing. Zero chance.
All right, Jane, on average, which state's residents eat dinner at the earliest time? Maine, Arizona, Wyoming, or Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania.
Ding, ding, ding.
Really?
Good guess.
Wow.
I would have thought it was Zona
That was
because
a-
all the old people.
Right. That was a complete guess.
All right, Maggie, which early 2000s game relaunched this week? Club Penguin, Neopets, Moshi Monsters, Webkins.
I have no idea what
Any of
any
these?
of those things are.
I'm right there with you, Maggie.
It's Neopets. I don't remember this. Do you remember Neopets from the 2000s?
There was some other, like the Pokemon Go and the widget pet. Zero of that has ever hit my radar.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember Tamagotchis, but I do not remember
Neopets.
Neopets.
Never
but
heard
they're
of them.
back.
Okay, well, shoo.
All right, are we tied up?
No, I think Jane's beating me, but we'll call it a tie to make it interesting.
We'll call it a tie to make this this last one. All right, so this is whoever answers it first.
Okay.
Who is the new Brewers outfielder who had a sensational major league debut last weekend?
Klepchik. I can't remember the guy's name. It starts with a K. I tweeted about him. He had a great game where he went, what was it, like 4 for 4, hit a home run, had an RBI, and 2 incredible
Don't think that's
outfield
his name.
catches. I can't remember his
Jane,
name.
do you remember we talked about it
I
yesterday?
know we talked about it yesterday. I'm going to call him Sparky. I have no
Sal
idea.
Frelick.
Sal Frelick. Klepchik. It was, you know what that was? It was like, maybe I need to be tested for dyslexia because it was like Frelick backwards and like mixed around in my head
Just
with
like an
some
anagram.
sales text. Yeah, and then like, okay.
All right,
Klepchik.
well,
Sal. Yes.
I'm going to give you both C's.
Yeah, we passed. Jane. C's get degrees,
I'll
baby.
take it. I'll take it.
That was really funny. But yeah. So, what do you got for us when we come back? Anything you want to tease for some
sure
stories
do.
you've rounded up?
So in the early 90s, they unearthed like a 2,000-year-old grave off the coast of England on this tiny island. And it was literally from the Iron Age, which was one of the most violent times in human history. And what do you think was in the grave? And we'll talk about it when we get back.
That is a great tease. All right. When we come back from this break, Maggie Dawn's still going to be here because she's on vacation today.
Vacation!
And, Jane will be here. I will be here. This is As Goes Wisconsin. Stay tuned.
I want to go back.
United States is for Fig Newton. It was named after Newton, Massachusetts.
Oh,
I haven't had a Fig Newton in a really long time.
it's because they're bad cookies.
Man, you're really downing on a lot of things that I like this morning. Jeez, don't yuck my yum.
Don't what?
Don't yuck my yum.
Got it.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Hello, Wisconsin. Welcome to the 11 o'clock hour of As Goes Wisconsin. I am your host, Kristen Bry. Got Jane Matnair, Fig Newton hater. And apparently, Maggie Daun, Fig Newton lover of the Maggie Daun Show.
I was so offended, Jane. You know how much I love and admire you. You're like my freaking radio hero. And then to hear you bash my Newton. I was like, get off the Fig
I was
Newton.
so
That's
surprised when she said
delightful.
that.
It's not a cookie. It's a Fig Newton. First of all.
It's still bad.
How do you figure, like, first of all, you can't ever eat a stale Fig Newton.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Do they? Is that
They're just not as good. You want the cakey part cakey. You want the jammy part jammy. You don't want any like crusty ends on that sucker. And you want a nice glass of Wisconsin-made 2% milk. That is like bringing me back. Oh, that's some good stuff. I love a Newton.
I love a Newton too. It's like it's flavorful.
It's a
Do you like a strawberry shortcake bread?
No.
Do you just not like fruit with your pastries?
It's a punishment.
Do you eat a
She
cherry
likes
Danish?
bacon on her scones, so that's if that gives you any indication of.
I can get behind that, like a good apricot jam and like bacon on a scone. Like that's sweet and salty, delicious. We can talk about food for an hour,
We could.
Kristen.
We have so many different angles we can go. So many different.
I always tell people I didn't get this curvy looking at my plate of food.
All right, so you teased a story.
Sure did.
About something that was found in a 2,000-year-old tomb.
Yeah. So, scientists say, this is from the Washington Post on the 27th, so yesterday, say they have solved the mystery of a 2,000-year-old grave that has intrigued archaeologists for more than 2 decades. Here's the thing. It's an Iron Age grave, first discovered in 1999. Quote, the most richly furnished burial chamber found in the area, a tiny island off the southwestern tip of England containing several metal objects, a bronze mirror, a sword, jewels. It was very sort of bedazzled, if you will, for an Iron Age burial site. And so it seemed, because of the archaeological things that were found there, that it indicated a warrior, and there were things like a sword and a shield that indicate likely a male warrior.
Okay.
But also they found a mirror, which from that time sometimes indicates a female burial site. So they were very confused about this because, again, it was the regalia of a soldier. And just to remind everyone, if you close your eyes and you put on your grade school, like middle school history lesson thinking caps, yeah, the Iron Age was when there were like bloody hand-to-hand violent combat.
Yeah, it's Game of Thrones, but in real life.
Yeah,
it's the 100-Year War
turned up a lot, right? Especially on the tip of this tiny little island off the coast of England, right? Like probably one of the most violent zones in the world at that time. So they eventually were able to extract DNA. They couldn't come to any conclusions about it for 20, 25 years because there wasn't enough DNA. Well, science has now advanced far enough that there was some teeth, and that the nature of what our teeth are composed of, actually, they're able to extract a more complete DNA sequence. And lo and behold, this badass is a woman that was buried.
Wow.
And they're kind of like, holy cow, does that sort of change some understandings that if you had a female warrior that probably was leading things because of the fact that there's this sword and a shield and this mirror and then all of this sort of bedazzlement, she was probably commanding troops and had probably distinguished herself in battle. And so the idea that this was going on 2,000 years ago, and not only did all those things to such a level of notoriety that when she died, and they put her age somewhere between like 20 to 25, when she died, people cared so much about her that they wanted to honor her this way in her burial. And so, like, in this moment of Barbie and sort of fourth wave feminism and understanding all of these things, it resonated so much so to me because, yes, not only have women rocked and rocked for all millennia and all of history, they have always been those that when poo is hitting the fan in the most extreme ways, you will find women there getting it done and getting it done on the battlefield too. So, to me, the other resonating part of this was history matters, how we teach it, how we tell it, how we remember it. And the parts of it that we choose to ignore matter probably more than the parts that are written down.
And who gets to tell it?
Correct. And here, yet again, we're reminded of that history is often incomplete. It's told by one perspective most often. That's why what Ron DeSantis in Florida is doing is so dangerous. Like, slavery was not helpful to anyone, you ass. So I just immediately was like,
well, it was helpful to some people.
Well,
it was not helpful to the people, the enslaved people.
Correct.
It was very helpful to the people who had free labor.
Well, that's the meta, right, Kristen? Like, when we're telling stories, ask yourself who benefits from the story being told in this way. And oh yes, now we understand why the story is told that way.
Well, and it's so interesting because I think about that. Like, you know, we joked at the last segment of there's so much news. And so even though all of us who our job is to scour the news, decide what we want to talk about, we can't, right? Like there's too many things. I didn't hear that story that you said. And it's the same thing with history. You can't just fill the history books with everything. And so there's editors and there's publishers and there's people who get to decide what the curriculum is and what stories get told. In the same way the publishers of our news for the day decide what makes the front page and what gets buried and what gets covered at all. And so it's like having a critical eye and having media literacy is so important to like, this is true, but also what is not being told.
100%. And the views, the biases, whether explicit and known to the publisher, to the decider of what information gets repeated and told and taught and elevated, like all of that deeply matters. So it was interesting as I read that, I was like, well, there's two ways I could connect that to another random story. And I'll actually give you both, Kristen.
Perfect.
So in the spirit of women rock and women as like warrior queens, I thought it was really cool that some of the below the surface stuff that happened in the U.S. women's national team's tie with the Netherlands was really cool because there was this on pitch collision between the captain of the U.S. team and this woman from the Netherlands. And they actually play together for a team from France.
Yeah.
Like in their normal everyday professional soccer careers. And apparently, like, these two had like some words, but they're friends and teammates. And then the U.S. national captain came out like really angry and didn't go target her female opponent, didn't go take her out, just went back onto the field and scored a goal.
I know. I love that. I was at Nomad on Brady with like 100 some people. Oh, speaking of that, as of right now, from viewing, Milwaukee is the largest viewership of the Women's World Cup so far for the first two games.
We are such a great sports area of viewership. People love it. We love all of it. People watch golf. That's fabulous. And then the last little piece of that I thought was so cool and like women as warrior queens that really resonated was after the game, the two were like making fun of each other and like poking each other. Yes. And I was like, ladies, this is how it's done. And I don't need to address that. The ladies, men, this is how we do. And it harkened back to the women's NCAA championship.
That's exactly where I was going to go next.
And like that was healthy competition. And these women like sharing hand gestures and how genderized and racialized the coverage of that got. It's like, what's the story that's told on top of the exact same facts? And to me, I was like, I love the fact that those two women were going at it in the NCAA. I was like, heck yeah.
Well, and the best take I found on that story specifically with Caitlin Clark, and I'm losing the Louisiana's player's name.
Someone that's listening to us, help us out. I can't remember.
But it was like the fact is like these women, these are two of the best
female
young college basketball players. They will play the rest of their careers with and against each other.
Yes.
And this will be one story in their long careers that they laugh about.
Correct.
And it's not a big deal. And so I think that's the thing. It's like I still think it's unusual People are still getting used to seeing women compete in this level.
Yeah.
And we're used to seeing it as the framework of like cat fights
Yes.
and manipulative mean girl BS
Yes.
versus like, oh no, we can be confrontational and get over it quickly.
And I think women actually are much better at that. Like my experience in the workplace is that I often have the most productive conflict or productive disagreement with women. Now that's not a universal experience, but especially if I'm dealing with a woman that has equal power, leverage, access, whatever. It's like, well, I totally disagree. Let's talk about this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Both of our ideas are better now because we had this disagreement. And like men are like feelings are hurt and toes are stepped on and who are you to be telling me like all that stuff.
Huh. That's really funny because I've heard similar things of like women writing room, like the writers' rooms.
Writers' rooms.
And where the funniest joke wins if a woman is in the head.
Correct.
And that like the collaboration that can happen is we're trying to get to the best sketch versus an individual's idea winning.
Correct. Because like I don't care if it was my idea or your idea. Like if we can all pitch in and make that idea better, then it's collectively owned. And that's one of the things that like as a manager, as a leader of people, if I'm trying to persuade someone, if I'm taking ownership over ideas and things, like that doesn't help anybody have buy-in.
Yeah.
And for us to feel like kumbaya team mentality, the thing that we're fighting isn't each other. It's like we're fighting the bad ideas, the unfunny stuff, the thing that lacks in substance or whatever that is. Yeah, my experience absolutely supports that insight, right? It goes really well when women are in the room.
Which is why we need more women in our rooms. As
Indeed.
the three female
Sole
hosts
female.
on Civic Media right now, which is better than other talk radio stations.
Yes, it is.
Not
Yes,
to
it
name
is.
names.
Not to name names, but we're doing better. We're trying to recruit more.
Yeah, if I have to listen to those two guys on that one station talk about any more crap.
And I have no idea which one you're talking about because there's so
many to pick from.
All right. Well, we're going to take another break. Maggie Daun will still be here when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
She's the best girl I ever had. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law.
to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Metnair. We're here with Maggie Daun. And just a reminder, we are going to play the state fair game again. We're going to play at the end of the show.
Yes.
So at 11:50, if you want to win some state fair tickets and categorize some food that you would devour, eat for the rest of your life, or banish to the depths of hell, we will be doing that at 11:50. And at the next segment, Matt Mueller is here going to be with for his pop culture update. And of course, we're going to talk about his reviews of Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Maggie, have you seen either of those movies yet?
I have not. I tend to sometimes sort of ostrich myself, put my head in the ground to like tune out buzz on stuff so that when I have time to get around to seeing it, I can consume it and make my own judgments about things.
That's very mature.
Because I've been so busy. I was sort of like, oh, this thing's happening and it's Greta Gerwig and like super cool. And I used to think Barbie was lame because she looked like an alien with no genitalia and whatever. Like my mom would buy me dolls. And
Never a doll person?
Well, this is what I'd do with them. I'd like dress them up exactly as they were supposed to look on the box and be like, well, I'm done now. What do I do? And I'd like put them on the shelf. And I was like, you mean I'm supposed to, like, don't I win? Like, it's exactly like it looks on the box, right? That which tells you all you need to know about my type A, like not super creative.
Didn't play much.
No,
just like, it looks good. This is what I'm supposed to do.
I won, right? I get an A.
It's finished now.
Correct.
You're like, give me another project.
Yeah, give me those Lincoln Logs. Let me go build something.
I have not seen it yet. I'm seeing Barbie tomorrow. I don't know. We're gonna see Oppenheimer, but I don't know when. But I'm a little behind on the. I'm the opposite of you. I've seen and received so much of the zeitgeist of it, of the narrative around people's thoughts about it. I'm certainly not going in as a blank slate, but I don't care.
Well, and you've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Well, it's specifically because it's a feminist movie,
right?
And some of the feedback, as far as like, I think people taking kids to it, it's not a kids movie. As far as maybe it is visually, just because it is so pink and it is so, but like the jokes, the message is layered in our relationship with feminism, with womanism, with dolls and all this stuff. So I as someone who was a gender studies major, I'm very excited about this.
Well, to me, there's a lot of different art forms that can be viewed at various different age and maturity levels, and you're going to see and understand the material in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you come from a fourth wave feminist frame and you've studied this, like you're going to pick up on all of these things that are layered apparently into this movie. If you're a 10-year-old girl, you may come away with the overall sensibility that I don't need a man and I can do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder the GOP hates this movie.
Hates it.
The Christian right is like losing its mind. That's what I've picked up is that. And
Ben Shapiro burning Barbies. Apparently now.
Honestly, some of the comments I've seen, what was my favorite one? The feminist agenda is going to destroy us all.
Wasn't it something like intersectional? It was because I had to explain what intersectionality is to Jane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know what Yellowstoning is though.
What is it?
I
never heard.
Can't remember what it was.
I googled it and it came up with Yellowstone National Park. So
of course, right.
Don't know. Also, Angel Reese was the name that we were thinking of before, as far as the LSU
We're giving you
superstar.
Snaps, Angel Reese. So
John Cena.
beautiful. I loved it. Yeah.
All right. Well, what was before we have to let you go?
Yeah.
Any final topic that you want to?
So my other tie to finding this 2,000-year-old tomb of the female goddess warrior and what it says about how we teach and understand things was, of course, let's talk about Florida banning books in elementary schools. And everybody remembers the little friendly Arthur series of books. Like
Arthur, it's a show too.
Yeah, isn't he like an aardvark or something?
Yeah, Arthur the aardvark.
Like about as harmless and lovely and warm fuzzies as you can possibly get. Well, not in Clay County, Florida.
Oh God.
Clay County School District Library Media Services Manual discusses how challenged materials have to be presented. Well, this weirdo filed a complaint and challenged Arthur's birthday. protect children. It is not appropriate to discuss spin the bottle with elementary school children. So there is a reference in the birthday. He's figuring out who to invite. And it was kind of like, well, invite all these different people and we'll play spin the bottle. Now, if a child reads that and they haven't been to a boy and girl party where spin the bottle connotes maybe kissing someone else, it wouldn't have any meaning other than like a reference to this game. But there's this, he goes off on this total rant. He goes, not okay for K5 kids. I was like, how many 5-year-olds do you know that are like, oh yeah, I can read Arthur without assistance right now? They're 5-year-olds. Yeah. And how many 5-year-olds would know what spin the bottle is? To me, there's so much projection of adult understandings of sexuality onto children's materials. It's like, you weirdos, stop putting your own sexuality in the middle of the discussion of early childhood educational material.
Well, and that's what I wonder when Pixar movies, because like in all the best kids movies of the last 15 or 20 years, there's been 2 levels, right?
There's all adult themes in there too.
It's like adult themes, it's adult jokes that just go right
SpongeBob.
over. Yeah. And
you want to have a good time, you get stoned, you watch SpongeBob at home, you will laugh your butt off, and not a single kid would ever understand any of the nuance. I mean, we could talk about SpongeBob. What's exactly going on in that underwater universe there, right? Like, it just give me a break. And by the way, this is the same state where a similar nutbag banned Amanda Gorman's poem.
I know.
It's just, we have lost our
We've
ever-loving senses.
We've lost the plot. All right, Maggie Daun, we have to let you go. I hope you have an excellent vacation day. You've earned it. We are so happy to have you as our friend, as our colleague. Listen to the Maggie Daun Show Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And call in. She'll take all your calls. She even takes CJ's calls, which we don't do anymore.
I do. And then I cut his butt off.
All right, we'll be back with Matt Miller after the break. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
For the Stars and Stripes honor flights. But Milwaukee County prosecutors say Nogue pocketed around $100,000 out of about $130,000 raised. Nogue is due back in court on August 28th. The Family Foundation buying the former Cardinals Ridge University campus is the same organization that founded St. Augustine Academy in Milwaukee. Ramirez Family Foundation is buying 12 buildings on the Glendale and Fox Point campus. Gus Ramirez says the foundation has been looking to open a Christian school for underserved students on Milwaukee's north side for 10 years. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Living happily ever after isn't always a reality. If you're over 50 and are considering divorce, attorney Andrea Gage with the Everson Law Firm can provide the guidance you need. Andrea focuses on silver divorces, the kind that get more complicated over time and present unique challenges. A family, multiple properties, significant assets. Andrea and the team at Everson Law have the experience to protect your interests. Call Everson Law to set up an appointment with Andrea today. It's never too late to be happy. Everson Law, 920-435-3734.
This Sunday is the Black-owned summer marketplace downtown in Deer District from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Enjoy food trucks, vendors, and a live DJ, all while supporting local Black-owned businesses. Learn more at mkeblack.org and download our app today.
It's so hot. Wait, now it's going to rain? It is summer in Wisconsin.
As much as we love it, we love to hate it too. Find a forecast you can count on along with the in-depth details you need, only from the Civic Media Weather Team.
These extended conditions have led us into a flash drought.
Don't have to hear the whole thing.
Temperatures with minimal rain has swiftly altered the local climate.
Your weather and more for your part of Wisconsin.
On your local Civic Media radio station and streaming on the Civic Media app.
It's time to turn Fridays into Fri-yays with WAUK.halfoffdeal.com. You'll find deals for spots around town like restaurants, spas, and more. This Friday at 8 a.m., you'll save 50% on another great local business. This week is Brunch Restaurant. You can brunch it up at their location in downtown Milwaukee, Brookfield, or Cedarburg. Brunch is all things breakfast. To get this deal, go to WAUK.halfoffdeal.com this Friday at 8 a.m.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I'm Kristen Bry. She is Jane Metnair, and it's that time of the month when we welcome Matt Mueller, culture editor for On Milwaukee, to give us a pop culture update. And I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to talk about this week. It has to be Barbenheimer, because I'm assuming you have thoughts.
What? We're not
Matt
talking
Miller.
about we're not talking about the Haunted Mansion movie.
Is that out yet?
I have 15 pages of Disney's Haunted Mansion to talk about. Let's talk Barbenheimer, please.
Let's talk Barbenheimer. Before that, how are you doing?
I'm great. I am broadcasting live from East Lansing right now.
You sound great.
That's great. I'm glad to hear
Sound
it.
Check.
Holiday and Wi-Fi. You're doing great. We are on the Miller Boys annual baseball trip, so we are seeing some exciting professional. We saw the Shohei Ohtani show last night, which was quite the show. So,
ooh,
yeah, if you get a
very
chance
fun.
to see him live, highly recommend it. He lives up to the hype.
All right. Well, which one? What did you do? The double feature. Did you see them back to back?
I did not do the official Barbenheimer, and I will say this: I don't think people should do the Barbenheimer double feature. Have both of you? Have you seen either of the movies yet?
Not
No,
yet.
I'm seeing Barbie tomorrow, and then we may
Okay.
see Oppenheimer Sunday. We're trying to figure out when we can see Oppenheimer, but I don't have time to do two movies back to back.
Part of it is it's a 5-hour double feature at minimum.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Oppenheimer is 3 hours long, tip to tail, and Barbie is still 2 hours long. So it's a long day, but also these are dense movies. Oppenheimer has a lot on its mind. Barbie, for a movie that is fun and light and, based on a Mattel toy, has a lot on its mind. These are movies that afterwards you want to sit down and talk about them and, have a drink over them. You don't want to immediately get ushered into a new theater and reset your brain. I think I would highly recommend either seeing one or the other. I recommend seeing both. They're both really good movies. But Oppenheimer is going to be on my top 10 at the end of the year. Barbie, I really enjoyed that. It's a really fun time, really thoughtful time. Ryan Gosling really going for it in that movie. But yeah,
do you think the hype is real that he could get nominated for an Oscar for this movie?
It'll be a hard thing to pull off because the Oscars famously do not respect comedy. And Ryan Gosling's role is distinctly comedy. There is no real dramatic. There's no moment where you can be like, look, he's really trying to have a big dramatic moment. He's so sincere in the movie. It's like he's waited his whole life to play Ken the doll. But he plays it great. But I have a hard time seeing, the Oscars being like, we're going to nominate this important serious actor, this important serious performance, this important serious performance, and Ryan Gosling as Ken. Like I don't think he even got nominated for. He barely got nominated for La La Land, and that was their favorite movie of that year.
Yeah, but because one has it, because Melissa McCarthy was nominated for Bridesmaids, right?
Yes, but it's very rare. It's very rare.
Very rare. It happens every once in a while. I'm trying to think of other off the top of my head.
Renee Zellweger got nominated for Bridget Jones's Diary. Robert Downey Jr. got nominated for Tropic Thunder. But those were kind of
for his blackface. We don't talk about that very much.
Yeah, Tropic Thunder came out at exactly the moment it could come out, and at no time after. But yeah, the interesting thing about that nomination is that year they didn't care about the rest of the nominations because that was the Heath Ledger and Dark Knight year. So Best Supporting Actor, it was Heath Ledger and I don't know, do whatever you want for the rest of the nominees. So a comedy could sneak in there. And maybe something like that will happen this year where there's a performance where it's like, oh, that guy's winning, doesn't even matter. And then voters get a little bit more creative, a little bit more like, oh, like we can throw in somebody interesting like a Ryan Gosling in Barbie. I do think you're going to see it get nominated for some Oscars though, especially in the production design area, in the like watching that movie is outstanding. Like it is just delightful to watch a movie with that much color, that much kind of set design. It's remarkable. And it only cost $100 million to make, which for Hollywood budgets nowadays is chump change.
Well, and it's interesting, like, does it, like Greta Gerwig has not missed yet. I feel like that's not talked about enough as far as how, like she started as an actress, if I'm correct, like actress kind of writer, and like debut film was Lady Bird, and then Little Women, and now this. And so like how rare is that, male or female, to have a writer director who just her learning curve was like, nope, never mind, I've arrived from the get-go.
Well, she had done a lot of stuff in the kind of indie core scene. She had worked with a lot of the Duplosses. You were cutting out a little. You might have already said that. But yeah, I mean, she is. I mean, when it comes to mainstream directorial debuts, she's 2 for 2 on Best Picture nominations.
Right?
She's incredible, and that's what we kind of hope the lesson is from Barbenheimer this past weekend. Is the hope is that Hollywood will see this and say that writers and directors and performers are what you should be investing in. This is what got people excited to go to the movies last weekend. It wasn't a Barbie movie. A Barbie movie would have made fine money, but a Greta Gerwig Barbie movie starring Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, that got people excited. It got people thinking maybe this isn't just going to be a brand movie. And same with Oppenheimer. An Oppenheimer movie makes no money without Christopher Nolan. That movie doesn't exist. It doesn't get made. It certainly isn't 3 hours long, and it certainly doesn't make $80 million in its opening weekend. The hope is that they see this and they're like, okay, we got to invest in stars and in writers, directors who have a creative vision that gets people excited to go to theaters. And we need to back those visions. But Mattel has already announced that they're making a Polly Pocket movie with Emily from Paris, written and directed by Lena Dunham, which like doesn't feel like they quite grasped what we liked about, this movie. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued by the Lena Dunham side of it. It's almost
I didn't know Lena Dunham was still doing
also,
stuff.
Like,
that's like a name I haven't heard in a little bit.
Polly Pocket movie now from this? Like, was this the dream of Barbenheimer?
Well, that I saw that. Did you also see I was going to talk about this and then Maggie stuck around, but did you see that today on Apple Plus a Beanie Baby movie is coming out?
Yeah, I'm tired of movies about things getting made. Like we had the Flamin' Hot Cheetos movie, we've had the Air Jordan movie. I just cannot. I don't need to see products getting made anymore.
We also had Blackberry.
The movie.
We also had Tetris. There was a pinball machine that was actually very good. The pinball movie was good. I forgot exactly what that one was called, but that was more about how pinball used to be illegal.
Yeah, that's almost interesting. But it's like everybody watched History Channel's How Stuff Gets Made, and they're like, we need to make movies out of all of this, and we really don't. How the stuffs get made on History Channel works fine enough on its own.
So going back to your point, as far as because what I find so interesting of Barbenheimer, because I saw your tweet saying the exact thing that you just said, as far as like what the lesson should be is that you invest in talent. You invest in writers, you invest in directors, you invest in stars, and that it's not just big superhero movies that can have incredible opening weekends. People want good movies, they want good stories. And simultaneously, this is happening with the first time the writers and actors have been striking since 1960. And do you have faith that the studios will hear that will be what they take away from this versus the things that we've been hearing is like, we're going to bleed them dry. Like, we will wait them out until they lose their houses.
I revert you back to my Polly Pocket movie line of discourse. I don't think so. And a big part of the strikes right now is that we are dealing with tech companies in this. These are not just studios. We're dealing with Netflix, which is a tech company. It's not really a proper studio. You're dealing with Amazon, who doesn't care about its film and TV development. And if it doesn't make money on that side, they don't care because that's 5% of the money they make. And Apple, who, they are a tech company. They are not an entertainment studio. They're fine dragging this out as long as possible because all they really care about is their streaming services in the case of Netflix and, getting people to buy their other products and things of that nature. They don't care as much about the entertainment side of things, at least as much as like a Warner Brothers needs to care about it or a Universal needs to care. I just don't see these CEOs caring about the industry. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like in the 1940s and the olden days of Hollywood that there was a purity of artistic vision running these studios. Like, that's definitely not the case. They were still, cheap, and they would still pinch every penny possible and exploit the heck out of people. But at least back then there was a feeling of art. There was a feeling of I am creating something that, will hopefully be meaningful. And I don't think there's any of that right now with these CEOs. I just think they just view this as an industry they can, scrap for parts, break apart a union, and make it cheaper for the next CEOs down the line.
Well, and it's interesting that you make that distinction because that is true, right? Like for some of the companies that are Netflix, their product is still the content that they put out, unlike Amazon and Apple. But we saw with A24, which if people listening are not familiar, is a incredible independent studio that makes
Moonlight,
some of the
everything everywhere all at once.
Yes, every kind of like indie, cool, gritty film that gets nominated. Like I feel like every year they have at least one thing that's nominated for Best
They've
Picture.
become like a genre on themselves.
Yes, and they're incredible. But they've come to terms with at least SAG. I don't know if it's also with the writers, but at least with SAG, that they have met as a small independent studio comparatively to big networks. They have been able to say, we can meet your demands with SAG. And so do you think there becomes different studios that break off? Or I don't really know the structure of AMPTP of like, that's possible. But do you think that for different studios that aren't tech companies, that they're like, I don't want to go down, like that they don't want to go down this road?
I think, and it's important to note, I don't think A24 has signed a full-on deal with the actors and the writers. I believe it's the waivers. Like, if you're wondering why you're seeing some movies and TV shows, if you're seeing some movies still going into production and things like that, a lot of those are A24 movies, and they're signing individual production waivers for those. But those waivers do mean that they are working by the guidelines of the deals that SAG and the WGA want. So, like, they are working under what they are trying to get from the major studios. I just don't see that happening, a studio breaking off. If it were, it would have to be someone like an A24, like a small independent studio that has the muscle and the prestige and the reputation that could pull off a move like that. It would be groundbreaking. It would be historic, and it would move A24 up to the level of like a Universal and a Warner Brothers, because, oh, hey, you're striking all of those studios, come work for us. But until that officially gets signed. But these studios, they work together, and these are rich dudes trying to defend their rich coffers and trying to defend their money-losing streaming services. And they will be damned if they have to release any of their streaming information and make it easier to negotiate residuals and easier to negotiate contracts. It's an existential strike right now. This is not just about money. This is about how this industry, how actors and writers and directors will be paid for their work from here until the next strike, until the next big technological entertainment revolution. And they don't want to pay more than they deem fit. And unfortunately, what they deem fit is very little.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Oh, what?
I mean, that's the big bummer about Barbenheimer.
No, I know.
Is we had this big weekend, the fourth highest opening weekend in history, combined in terms of money, the highest weekend since Avengers Endgame, and the next week we're talking about studios pulling movies off of the schedule because the actors can't do press tours for them.
Yeah.
And you know, hey, welcome back to theaters. Sure hope this lasts. Like, sure hope there's some new stuff for you to see in a few months. It's gonna keep going. I mean, they just moved the Emmys this week.
Yep,
Those
I saw that
got
this
pushed.
morning.
Yeah, that got pushed
All right.
probably to January. Yeah, sorry to end on a
So we're
bummer
gonna end
note.
on a bad note. Well, have fun on your Miller Boys baseball tour. Matt Miller is the culture editor for On Milwaukee. Always fun to have you here. We'll see you next month. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me.
All right. If you would like to win some State Fair tickets, call us now, 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. And we will play a little game with you. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Does your financial strategy include your hopes and dreams? What matters most to you? For over 100 years, Thriven has helped clients like you find financial solutions for life's important goals. Explore a full range of options, from financial advice and investments to insurance, banking, and generosity programs. To have a heart-to-heart about your finances, contact Mandy Roberts, who you may recognize as Mandy Wright. Call her at 715-470-1303. 715-470-1303. Mandy Roberts proudly serves the central Wisconsin area. For more details, visit thriven.com/disclosure.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm. Built for real life.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. At 6 to 7, The Maggie Daun Show. On 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Chance for scattered storms this afternoon, otherwise sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Highs level off around 90, southeast winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Scattered thunderstorms again tonight, lows around 65, cloudy skies expected. Chance for scattered storms tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 80, partly cloudy skies. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently,
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. And this show is flown by.
It really did.
Woo-wee.
It really did. It was great to have Maggie here.
Oh my God. So easy to talk to.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Just could talk to her all day. We decided that the three of us could go out and solve a lot of the world's problems. Or at least some problems in our worlds.
Absolutely. Just give us the power It'll be fine.
It will be
It'll
fine.
all be fine.
All right. Well, we are once again giving away some State Fair tickets because the State Fair starts next Thursday. It's here, people. And we have come up with a game that is similar to, a fun game that's usually played with celebrities as far as which one you would like to fornicate with, which one you'd like to marry, and which one you'd like to kill. But this is, instead, we're giving you 3 new food items you can get at the State Fair.
Yep.
And one you have to choose that is something you will eat all of it, but you only have to do it once. One you have to eat for the rest of your life, and one you never get to eat and you have to banish it to hell. And who is our contestant today, Jane?
We have Mike on the line from Milwaukee. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Great. How are you ladies today?
We are great. We're
good.
ready for the weekend, Mike. All right. Are you ready to hear your options and which ones you have to pick one for each category? You understand the rules?
I'm not sure I can be as good as Richard from yesterday, but I'll try my best.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were listening yesterday. All right. So your first option, the Brat and Kraut cheese curd taco at Richie's Cheese Curd Tacos, consisting of a Johnsonville brat bites, cheddar cheese curds, sauerkraut, and beer and brat mustard in a fried flour tortilla. So that is your first option.
Sounds good.
Your second option is an Oreo crumble cookie dough on a stick that will be at Cora's Cookie Dough. I think it's supposed to be fried. I think it's fried Oreo crumble cookie dough on a stick. And your last one is bug chow mein.
Bug chow mein.
Bug chow mein. So yes, this is one of the bug dishes that will be at Exotic Meat. So which one are you eating all of it at once for the rest of the once every day for the rest of your life, or one that you're not going to eat at all and banish to hell?
Banish. What kind of bugs are we talking about here?
I don't know.
Is that the qualifier for you, Mike? Is
that a consideration?
I need to know what kind of bugs they are.
So you'll do grasshoppers, but not ants.
All right, here we go. I got the description. Bug chow mein. Bug chow mein is swarming with insects that'll satisfy your bug craving, because we all have one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Teriyaki noodles are mixed with sauteed edible bugs like crickets, worms, ants, June bugs, and juicy sago worms, served with soy sauce, duck sauce, and a fortune cookie for your dining pleasure.
Juicy worm.
And the picture is not appetizing.
Oh, man.
See, that's what I needed. So I'm going to go with, I'll eat that once.
You'll eat that once. Wow. Adventurous.
Bug chow mein. Oh, man.
Yeah, we'll try the bugs out.
All right.
We're going to banish to hell the fried Oreos on a stick, because you just shouldn't mess with Oreos. They're good as is.
Okay.
So that leaves the winner for a lifetime brat kraut tortilla.
You're going to eat that every day for the rest of your life.
Yeah, there's cheese curds in there. Why not?
The curds solve everything.
The curds and the brats every day for the rest of your life. Just such a cliche, Mike from Milwaukee. All right. Well, stay on the line. Jane is going to get your information so we can get you your tickets for the Wisconsin State Fair. Thank you for calling and thank you for listening, Mike.
Have a good day.
You too.
Don't hang up. I need your I need your stuff. We will have more tickets too.
We have more tickets. So we are going to be doing this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all next week. We'll probably play more than once because we have a lot of tickets. I think we have over 20. We had over 25. We gave 2 to Richard yesterday. We'll give 2 to Mike.
Yep.
But if you would like to play, it's obviously very fun and very simple.
And you can't lose.
All you have to do is make the hard choices. And
decisions.
I am the thing that I want to go to State Fair and make some content of trying a lot of these foods. It's just really expensive.
It's not like they have a sample day. You know what I mean? If they had teeny portions where you could get a taste of it for $2, but
to buy because it's like I just will get full. I mean, this kid's starting to take up a lot of space in my torso, and there's only so much I can eat. Speaking of this kid, I learned how to give birth. I went to my first and only birthing class last night at a Sinai.
Oh, really?
So I know a little bit more about labor.
Do you feel better about it now?
Sure. I mean, I know a little bit more about all right, so what does inducing actually mean?
I saw the facility, you saw the labor and delivery floor.
Okay.
Mike was with me, and we there's like a hydrotherapy tub, and of course he asked, he says, well, are the support partners allowed to use this?
I don't think so.
And but yeah, so that was it's happening.
It is. It's coming pretty quickly, my friend.
Yeah. And so it was one of those things. I think this weekend is going to be spent finally sitting still and doing stuff around the house. Be like, what do we have to get done in the next 2 months before this kid shows up? Because I think the list is a lot longer than we
Is the nursery?
realized. No.
Oh. Yeah, your mother hasn't come down, swooped in, and
she has things picked out, but it's not set up yet. And so
you may want to get on that.
We may get on that this weekend. There may be some rearranging, some lists making, starting to actually figure out what needs to happen over the next 6 weeks.
You're going to need some supplies.
Because he's getting back surgery.
That's right.
And I'm probably sooner rather than later going to be big enough where it's like I don't want to be doing any of that stuff. So we gotta get on it. What are you doing this weekend?
I am we are going to dinner at a friend's tomorrow.
Fun.
Yeah. So I have to go grocery shopping, go pick up I'm making appetizers, mushroom onion tartlets.
Nice.
Woo-woo.
Not Fig Newtons.
They are not Fig Newtons. And someone actually texted in and suggested frozen Oreos.
Instead of Fig Newtons.
Instead of Fig Newtons.
Double stuffed?
They did not specify.
Let us know. Double stuffed, single stuffed, or fried on a stick.
All the important things. You can always let us know at 844-967-2789, or you can email us too at asgoeswisconsin.com.
Asgoeswisconsin at civicmedia.us.
There you go.
Thank you to Maggie Daun for spending such a chunk of time with us today. It was super fun. Listen to her show Monday through Thursday on Civic Media at 6 p.m. Thank you to Matt Mueller, who joins us once a month to give us his pop culture takes. And thank you to people who called and people who texted and being part of the show. We will be back on Monday at 10 a.m. and we will do this all over again. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.
Just a matter of taste. Stop telling me to wait.